Hello and welcome to season 2 of Listen Loudly. My name is Joslyn Thompson Rule and this is my podcast. We are season 2. Season 1 dropped in 2024 and this is the start of 2025 for our season 2. I wanted to do a solo episode as the first episode because there's a quote that I love by a phenomenal woman that I worked with, Lindsay Matthews, who has a company called BirthFit, and I worked with her after I had my C-section with my first born, Bjorn. And she has a saying that goes, "I don't talk about my shit whilst I'm going through my shit." And that really resonates with me. But I feel that since my last episode, or my last season, in 2024, I've had this really big shift in my own life. So whilst I feel like I'm still going through it, it also feels important for me to acknowledge it because on this podcast, I always ask people the moments in which they've listened loudly to themselves in order to be heard by others. And whilst I've done that for most of my life, it feels like I've really stepped into that. Maybe back in late 2023 and moving into 2024, I was realizing that work was becoming more what others may perceive to be successful. I've got some different ideas about that, but I was leveling up, let's say. And whilst I didn't realize it at the time, I was trying to backfill gaps of my worthiness of this next level and what I really thought of that internally. So I worked with lots of different coaches to whether it was branding, whether it was styling, whether it was a business coach. Like I was paying other people to clearly increase the value that I didn't believe that I had on my own. And it wasn't until maybe January of 2024, all the way through to April of 2024, where I just very slowly started to go, hang on a minute. And it's that idea of being pushed to your back up against the wall where you have to make a change. And I really felt that. And slowly, I started to let go of working with all of these people, and not all of them. You know, one of them knows me very, very well. And we worked together years ago. And that's why I worked with her on who I am, who I'm showing up as. And not with her, but with everybody else, there was just this mismatch. And that peaked for me. Like I said, I slowly started kind of cutting ties from January, but that peaked for me in April. And I was just like, this is not me. This is not my vibe. This person doesn't understand me. No. And I feel like for the first time in a long time, I had lost my self-trust. So I decided right from here, moving forwards, I'm going to just lean into myself and start to rebuild that trust again with myself. And you know, my intention for last year, for 2024, was deep work and deep rest. And I really feel like I did both of those. And I didn't quite realize how deep the work was. And I didn't quite realize how much of a rest and a step back I needed to take from feeling that others were going to increase my value. So it's just interesting to me the way those two things work together. But so from April onwards, it was this slow rebuild. It was a massive slowing down of myself. I started to not take some risks, but I started to go, okay, we need to just do a little bit more here. We need to do a little bit more there. Trust the process. And that's something that I will and always have done with myself, and keep it moving forward. And I can't tell you how that slowing down, how that tuning in made this ridiculous change within my life. So, and I've spoken about this a little bit before, maybe when I've been teaching classes or whatever, but that slowing down for me and releasing the opinion and what others thought I needed to do has, towards the end of 2024, really sped up the speed at which everything has then happened, and it's just gone and gone and gone at this incredible pace. And so I feel like I've rebuilt this trust of, no, when you're not there, when you're not yourself. Now it's time for us to build together. And it was that trust of taking my time, which I will forever and a day say is something that I do. I will take my time. If I'm not ready to do something, even if the pressures all around me are telling me to be ready, I'm not doing it. When I'm ready to take that step, I need to know that the foundation underneath is solid, and I need to know the lay of the land. But that doesn't mean that I'm not a risk taker. I am a massive risk taker. I enjoy taking risks, but I want to know the lay of the land in order to do my best work, and that takes time. And so what it feels like is that towards the end of 2024, I started to, in my workplace at Peloton, work on projects that are my absolute passion, and so many more of those to come, into 2025. But it just feels like, the timing of everything was perfect. I needed to completely lose myself via the thoughts and input of others. And these people are wonderful. This is no shade on any of the people that I worked with. We were just misaligned. And I know that they have a wonderful impact on so many other people. But for me, again, I trust myself implicitly. And when that falls off, it's time to move on. So that's my first piece. So in many respects, going back to, I don't talk about my shit whilst I'm going through my shit. I feel like I'm very much going through it in a positive way. I'm excited for what's on the other side of this, but I'm still, I guess, very, very deep in process. The second piece I want to talk about as things started to shift for me in the second half of 2024 was this differentiation between stress and pressure. I do well under pressure, but I underestimate the impact of low-lying stress. And as I get older, I'm very, very aware that I may not be aware of the low-lying stresses in my life. So I was really, really intentional towards, the second half of last year to really try and eliminate little things that would stress me out unnecessarily. So I haven't perfected it by any stretch of the imagination, but whether it was something as simple as getting the kids out for school in the morning, we love nothing more, myself and my husband BJ, when the kids come down the bed, we all have a cuddle in the morning, but we were just enjoying those cuddles too much, and then we'd be racing out the door. So even just getting something as simple as the morning routine a bit more aligned so that we weren't stressing. And it's also stressful for the kids to be running late for school as well. It wasn't all the time, but sometimes. And so little tweaks that we can make to our lives that often revolve around timekeeping. I will not lie, and anyone who knows me, this is what they get when I am running behind. So that is very much a work in process coming to you in 2027. But the things that can be prevented that are unnecessary in the day, I've really worked on doing that, and I enjoy making those tweaks, and I enjoy trying to make those better. So if anyone has any other tips, send them my way. But pressure, I do enjoy. I love problem solving. I love you giving me a framework for something that isn't the ideal framework that I might like, and me still making it work and me still making that fit. And so I feel like I have thrived under pressure this year, but also I feel like I learn a lot when I'm under pressure, and I feel like I'm able to apply that moving forward. Many of you know, if you've listened to me for a while or been coached by me, I'm such a fan of the review and the learnings from the review. What went well? What would I do differently? What am I going to do next time? And that still comes back to the deep work and the deep rest concept of, when you're in the work, then you rest or you pause and you have that review so that you can improve the work moving forward. So the pressure and the stress is a continued work in progress. That will be the case in 2025. I think I invite new pressures all the time. I think it's important for me, it's important to do that. And that's also a massive privilege to be able to say, oh, I invite pressure, because it's definitely a growth thing for me. I recognize that is for many people not ideal, and they're under an incredible amount of pressure that they don't wish for. So I want to acknowledge that as well. And then finally, I want to talk about, I guess, what I think is my responsibility in 2025 and moving forward. And that is, I've been in this industry for over 20 years. Probably what my ambitions were 15, 20 years ago to what they are now are very different. I worked, very, very hard in the beginning to be recognized by other coaches in the industry. I think I had a fair crack at that. But what I realized was that there is still this element, I think, sometimes in coaching of, well, let's see how we can improve that 1%. Let's see how we can get better. Let's see how we can maximize our performance. I still think that there are more people not working out or enjoying the benefits of movement than there are actually working out. I think that the industry is still very much geared to those working out, to those who see themselves in fitness. And sometimes I found myself in spaces where I was like, are we on the same page here? Because there's a bunch of people that could do with our help, and we don't need to be patting each other on the back or telling each other how great we are as coaches. We need to get out to the masses who need us. And so what I feel now in 2025 and moving forward is this great responsibility to give as much of my knowledge as I can to groups that need it. I don't need to be in the space with coaches who are looking to improve for the 1%. I feel like my work, there's many people doing that, and I feel like my work is wasted there because there's already people doing it and it's still not serving the masses, if you will. So it's such a privilege for me to be able to do what I do. I am so excited for my guests. I'm so obsessed with my guests for this coming season. I just feel like so many of them in their work have that drive and passion, I suppose, to impact the greater good, if you like. I know my first guest, she says if everybody reached their full potential, and that looks very different for many people, that the world would be a better place. And I think I agree with that wholeheartedly. So I'm excited for season 2. I'm looking forward to you hearing the conversations with my guests. And I always like to finish off with, have my guests listen loudly to themselves so they can be heard by others. I think for me, at this time, it was that kind of back against the wall time in April where it was like, okay, this isn't you. Let's bring it back to where we started and move forward from here. And that has just given returns I can't even begin to comprehend. And so if I have an intention, I like to set intentions rather than goals. Maybe one day I'll set goals again. It's all good. I'm, neither here nor there. This year is showing up. And first and foremost, that's showing up for myself, backing myself. It's showing up for my family, making sure that the time that we spend together is quality. We like myself, my husband and my boys, we just love the time that we spend together. We're happiest when we're together, which is again such a wonderful thing. I want to show up for the people who learn from me in movement. I want to show up for my colleagues, my workplace. And I know that sounds like a spreading too thin. I appreciate that can be that, or seen or perceived to be that, but I like to think of it as a sustainable showing up. And so that's what to expect from me this year. I'm having such a ball doing what I'm doing. It is such a privilege for me to do what I do. So thank you for listening. I hope you enjoy season 2, and I will see you on the next episode. Lots of love.